Back again, and I don't know, still tasting booze from the other evening. That's about it. That's about all I got. Okay, Ultimate Fighter, or UFC 97 picks. Of course, my MMA Playground not working, so I'm going to have to go with off memory, and maybe not have quite as awesome breakdowns as I usually have, which angers me just a little bit, but only a little. Anyways, before I waste too much time blabbering, UFC 97 on April the 18th, next Saturday. Watch it, enjoy it, and we're rolling. Matt Wyman versus Sam Stout. Sam Stout, animal in the gym, very technical striker, very predictable, kind of like a robot. Matt Wyman, more dynamic striking, I guess is the term. More power, I think. Seeing as Sam Stout seems to have none. Better wrestling, better ground skills, and I think that's really the difference in itself, actually. I think Wyman wins the UD just because Stout's got a pretty good chin. He does have a pretty good ability to stay out of subs, and I think he probably will be able to. Not including the, of course, he got his arse handed to him by Kenny Florian, but that's Kenny Florian, and I don't think more needs to be said on the matter. Moving on. Rio Chonin versus TJ Grant. TJ Grant, stud Canadian welterweight, good wrestling, good striking, good submissions. Basically has all the tools. The man he's fighting also kind of has all the tools. Rio Chonin, I mean, we would describe him as... Sorry, it's early. You would describe him as well-rounded, and of course, has the ability to end a fight at any time, any given time. Ask Anderson Silva. But in this fight, I think Grant's the better wrestler. I think Grant can outstrike him. I think he's going to look kind of like the Carl Parisian Rio Chonin fight a little bit, and TJ Grant takes UD. David Bilkeden versus Mark Bocek. I'm going to get a lot of flack for not picking Bocek, but I am picking David Bilkeden. I think he's bigger and stronger, and that's really the reason. I think both are phenomenal hybrid BJJ and wrestlers. I don't think either can submit each other. And neither has striking really to write home about. So I'm going with Bilkeden by unanimous decision. David Loazo, Ed Herman. David Loazo getting a second chance in the UFC after pulling off wins over Todd Gallenberg, Andrew Buckland, and Solomon Hutcherson. I don't really know why. The only kind of decent name in that list is probably Gallenberg, who's at 205, or kind of big, kind of strong, kind of powerful. But all in all, not really, a world beater by any means. The Buckland fight lasted all of like 20 seconds, and it took him to the fifth round to finish off our good friend from Tough, Solomon Hutcherson. Dagger. All that being said, Ed Herman should have the better wrestling, should be able to put the walls on his back and kind of hold him there, but Short Fuse is notoriously inconsistent. But I'm going to still pick him by UD. Jason McDonald versus Nate Quarry. Going with Nate Quarry. I don't generally pick for Jason McDonald, and people know that's for personal reason. And the fact that I really never do think he's going to win. I think almost every fight he's had in the UFC, I have actually thought he was going to lose, and then, sometimes he pulled it off. Like, let's just see here for a moment. Thought Ed Herman was going to beat him. Thought Chris Lieben was going to beat him. I was right about Richard. No, I did pick him against Rory Singer. I thought Yushin Okami would beat him, and he did. I thought Joe Dirksen would beat him. He didn't. I thought Damian Maia would beat him, and he did. Jason Lambert didn't, and I thought Wilson Govea did. So basically, I predicted him to win once in his entire UFC career. That's probably not a good ratio. I'm not picking him again. I think Corey should be able to keep this thing on the feet, and I think he should be able to go for the KO. Nate Corey has heavy hands, if you didn't know. Dennis Gang versus Xavier Fopapakam. Xavier is too small for middleweight. He has the height, but not the literal girth. Dennis King, I think, better wrestler, better grappler. Striking, if they kept it standing, this would actually be kind of an interesting fight, but I think Dennis King's not that dumb, basically. I think he'll take him down. I think he does sub him. Dennis King, of course, has this issue where he will get tapped by people that have no business tapping him. I'm worried about that. That being said, we'll see. Kind of see on that one. But I'm hoping Dennis King pulls it off. He doesn't. Crap. That's all I got. Elliot Marshall versus Vinicius Malhegas. Worst nickname ever, by the way. Vinicius Malhegas, your nickname is Vinny. Just change your name to that and find something else, but I don't know. That's me. Vinicius, probably the best grappler at 205. I'm going to go on record saying that. That being said, his wrestling not very good, in my opinion. We haven't seen him really actually take anyone down, actually. I've seen, I think, almost every professional fight he's had, and I don't think I've ever seen him take anyone down. He pulls guard. People take him down, which is interesting. But you can take down Vinny and win a fight if you put the pressure on and hurt him. He's susceptible to being stopped with strikes. He's susceptible to being basically a pretty boy who doesn't want his face beaten in. That's what it seems. I can't really say that's what it is. Elliot Marshall should be able to keep this on the feet. Should be able to get the TKO. He can go to the ground. He is a black belt. But I would say that the longer he stays on the ground with Vinny, the worse his chances of winning the fight are. Steve Cantwell versus Luis Archer Kane. I'm going with Luis Kane. Kane has shown he's pretty hard to take down, which may be where Steve Cantwell's real advantage in this fight is. I don't think his striking's on the level. I think Cantwell is the better future prospect, but in the now, Kane's got this one by TKO, I think. Czech Congo, Anthony Harndog. Great fight if they stood. Czech Congo won't. He's seems to think he's a wrestler now, and in this case, he's actually kind of right, because Harndog's takedown defense is non-existent. He does have some stuff off his back, but I don't think he'll catch Congo. Going Congo by UD. And it's going to kind of disappoint a lot of people, because people have been calling for this fight for a while. And I said every time anyone brought it up, I'd be like, but he's just going to take him down. Polish experiment, Krzysztof Sosinski versus Brian, the All-American Stan. Going with Sosinski, more well-rounded. This fight, I think, at some point does hit the ground. I think at that point, Stan's seeming kind of lack of a ground game comes into play. Krzysztof does have a ground game, contrary to what some people kind of thought. He basically killed Shane Prim on the ground. And he's had a couple other good outings. I think his ground game isn't as good as he thinks it is. That's the key. Also, his striking game isn't as good as he thinks he is. Basically, he's not as good as he thinks he is, but he's still kind of good. Chuck Liddell versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. Going with Chuck Liddell, hoping Shogun wins. This would blow Dana White's whole, like, I'm going to bring Chuck back to the top, because fans still seem to think Shogun is this highly ranked fighter when he really isn't. He could not finish Mark Coleman, and I was very disappointed by that. Chuck Liddell, though, has the wrestling. I'm kind of predicting somewhat of a Vanderlei Silva Chuck Liddell fight due to the similarities with Shogun. And I've said this all the time. I thought Chuck was a bad matchup for both of them. I thought the guys who could beat Shogun or Chuck were not the shootbox guys, which is surprising. But I thought the shootbox guys were better fighters. See, this is one of those stylistic things. Anyways, Chuck by UD. Anderson Silva, Talis Latis. Anderson by whatever the heck he feels like. I understand you have to keep the champion fighting. I understand Anderson Silva wants to fight, but could you give him someone better than Talis Latis? What has Talis Latis done to earn this title shot? That is my simplistic question to the UFC. Yes, he has a pretty decent record going. He's got like 5 straight wins. But the last one was over to Drew McFedries. Who cares? He beat Nate Marquardt. But really it was Nate Marquardt beating himself. He beat Ryan Jensen, who is actually fighting again in the UFC, which kind of disturbs me. Floyd Sword, who has not fought since. Or at least I don't think he has. He may have had like one more fight. And Pete Sell. And Pete Sell's good for like a decent looking fight, but other than that, didn't really say much. Like, it's kind of like, who has Pete Sell fought that didn't beat Pete Sell? And I think the answer is basically Phil Baroni and Josh Bergman. So that's basically